Live from the city of Los Angeles. It is. In certain areas, the first day of spring, but it is March 20th, 2023. This is Drug Dealers to Businessmen podcast. I am your host, Duane Cofield. Welcome to one of our weekly live segments. This is called the Weekly Tap In, and I'm tapping in. What's really good, you guys? Been a minute? Not really, though. Man, we're trying to come with you guys weekly. Some of you guys who are listening on this on the podcast make it a little delay. But nonetheless, man, we appreciate you, man. You can spend your hour with anybody else. We came a little early today. Our usual time is between 6 and 7. Most of the time we've been at 7, but this is our normal times at 6 o'clock PS or Pacific Standard Time, wherever it is in your locale. But this is going to be season 4, episode number, I believe, is 17, man. We are making our way. So those who are watching on the live, whether it's on YouTube or whether you're watching on Facebook, make sure you hit the subscription button so that you won't miss another episode. I believe the notifications are right down here. Make sure you put your city, man, where you tapping in from. We always like to acknowledge our guests. Anybody who's tapping in for the first time, thank you. Those who are tapping in for the 100th time, thank you, man. We passed our 100th episode a while ago. So kudos to us for keeping it consistent, but more importantly, kudos to you guys for giving us a reason to exist. Couldn't do it without you, man. So the fans, the listeners, the people who are tuning in, we try to bring it every day. We try to bring it every time we come on this mic because we know that this is God-driven. And this is not a religious podcast by any means, but what we do address is how God has changed our lives, and he's changed everybody's lives. Some of us fail to acknowledge it. So this episode, we're talking about, appreciate that. First visit. All right, Auntie, I appreciate you tapping in. We're talking about how limits are contagious, right? Limits are contagious. And what that means is a lot of times, our limits or what we see as being limits in our lives aren't usually our idea. It's usually something, or the lack of limits, right? Are usually things that we've taken from who we've spent time with, who we've been around, right? If we talk about our grandparents and our parents, we're talking baby boomers and also, people that come from, different era than us. So their limitations and what they see in life may be limited, right? Because of what they've experienced. It's not their fault. Don't get me wrong, but they're limited in terms of what they experience. So it's hard for them to see things without limits, right? Because they've seen the worst. They've lived through the depression. They have a different mentality, right? So our homeboys or homegirls who we grew up with, a lot of times I'm still connected with a lot of guys from San Diego, and I see them. Some of them are still doing the same thing. Some people have moved on. But a lot of times your city will keep you limited, right? Because I've always done what I've done. I go to the same grocery store, I live in the same neighborhood. And yeah, well, and oftentimes you don't aspire to do much more than that, right? If you go to a different neighborhood and you see bigger houses, you're like, well, damn, I didn't even know they had houses this size, right? I didn't know you could do this with your house. I didn't know you could do. So exposure is everything, right? Which is why we have to expand our circles. And most of the time, you get to hearing that shit. Everybody talk, oh, my day ones, my day ones. Yeah, but your day one should take you into a different circle because they should be on some W.E.B. Du Bois type where you go out and learn and bring it back to your, quote unquote day ones. But if you're not bringing nothing back to your day ones, then what's the point? If you're going out and you're like, okay, well, I'm keeping it the same. I mean, you're not really making your team better. And in order for you to make your team better, you have to get better as an individual. Doesn't matter. You have to work as an individual to get better in order to make your squad better. So your limitations oftentimes are because of who you're hanging around and what their limitations are, right? So you're subjected to stuff that has nothing to do with you, no control. You don't know what people are putting in their heads, right? And then you come with this idea that people say is crazy. Because the thing about entrepreneurship or going after business ideas, you almost have to be delusional. There's a video that came out this week I saw with Dame Lillard. And when he got drafted to Weber State, he talks about, man, I was 5'8", I was 100 something pounds. And he was like, but I'm going to the league. And he had to make himself crazy and almost become delusional in order to convince himself not to talk himself out of it. because everything around you oftentimes is talking you out of it or telling you how you can't do it, right? There's statistics. Oh, nobody, here's the famous one. Nobody ever done that before. So, and nobody in your family, you the first one. Okay, well, shit, I'm not going to be the last. That's for sure. That's the one thing about me and legacy is like, okay, because I'm the first in my family, damn sure ain't going to be the last. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? All right, now I ain't seen you in a minute, CJ. What's going on, homie? What's going on? What's going on? Sammy OTL tapping in. Appreciate you guys all tapping in. But seriously, when you start to think about that, man, the limitations oftentimes are imposed on us. You can't do that. You don't have the resources. How don't I? How is that possible? If me and God are one, and I know God, I got his number, I can get to him, right? I don't have to go through a preacher. I don't have to go through any of that. I have to go through Jesus. I know that's shocking some, but I don't have to go through any of that to get directly to God. So if that's the case, if I can get directly to the source, that's like as we talking D-boy terms, right? What's going on, Veronica? Appreciate you tapping in, Barstow. We talking D-boy terms. If I can go directly to the source, why am I listening to middlemen? If I can go straight to the plug and get my work, why am I talking to middlemen about how much I'm getting or what's possible? They have no idea. Period. What's going on, Dominic? Nick, what's going on, homie? But think about that. What do I need to talk to them for? Because the only thing they can tell me is, homie, man, you can't afford the ticket. All nothing. All because you don't have the plug. All because you can't go to the source because you keep relying on middlemen to determine your destiny. Not me. If I got the source, man, I'm asking him for whatever, homie. Period. You know what I'm saying? I'm asking God, man, can I get this? And I know what my answer is. So there's no limitations. Only time limitations are when that middleman comes in with his limited ass budget. Yeah, he can't afford 100 of them. So he could, man, you can only get Wooty, man. What you need 100 for? Why? Because you can't get it. You know what I'm saying? Why? Don't count my bread, dog, and my don't put a cap on me. Don't cap me out, homie, because there's a lot of cats that try to. You can't. You can't. Man, you can't be quiet fast enough, dog. Period. I don't want to hear your limits because usually when you run something by somebody, a limited mentality, they'll give you the reasons why they haven't done it. Not the reasons why you can't do it, but the reasons why they haven't done it yet. Man, it's hard, dog. You gotta, whoa, down. Oh man, you gotta sign. Yeah, you gotta do all that, homie. You gotta do all that for everything in life. Everything in life requires steps, works, rules, the whole nine. Even the game got rules, right? So don't tell me that what can't be possible. But somebody who's got a limited type mentality will give you all the reasons why you can't do it. All the reasons. And not only that, they may not tell you the reasons directly, but their responses, right? Their attitude about it. Oh, they're not excited. You ain't excited because you can't see what I can see. I can understand why you're not excited. I get it. I wouldn't be excited too if I just was basing it on what I knew. But this dude can see something different. He went to the plug. He went and seen all the work. He was at the warehouse. He knows what God's potential is, right? I'm always tying this thing to the work game so the homies really understand. You dig what I'm saying? So you've been to the warehouse. You've seen not the one where they keeping it, the one where they making it. You've been to that one. You like, well, damn, I see a field full of this stuff. And you guys are, man, there's really no limit. No, there isn't. How much do you need? How much can you afford? But how much do you need first? Right? That's how God works. What do you need first, dog? We'll worry about the ticket later. That's how he gets down. And there ain't no consignment shit either. But here, what you need? And you got to have a reason to need it. He ain't gonna give you the work. He ain't gonna give you the blessing if you ain't gonna use it in the right way. So you might as well forget about that if your intent is wrong. I had a conversation with my students in consumer behavior today. We were talking about forming attitudes, right? And I asked them, I said, what's your attitude on panhandling? And they were like, oh man, I said, you guys, first of all, I said a couple things. I said, you guys One, if you guys don't really know, listen to Kendrick Lamar's How Much a Dollar Costs. He was like, "Oh, you Kendrick, you always got to tie pop culture in to really be effective to these students to this day." I'm just saying. So I was like, "Have you guys listened to How Much a Dollar Costs?" And I started talking to them about intention and attitude, right? So the thing about the panhandling is, why are you giving it to them? They like, well, if they do this and this and this and that, man. One time I bought this lady a cheeseburger, she threw it straight in the trash. I said, because your intention is wrong. Your intention is connected to her giving you gratitude or her praising you. So your intention's ego driven. I told them, I said, man, I got a stash spot in my car specifically to give out money to the homeless. I put $5 in there. Whenever I got ones, I stack up my little compartment up with ones. My intention, so it doesn't bother me. So I'm not reaching into my wallet and getting $5 from over here that I need to do something else with. That makes it a little bit harder to do. You see what I'm saying? So they was like, "Oh," and they finally understood, right? It took a little while because but I was trying to get attitude. How do you feel about a certain thing? And a lot of times when we have a a certain aspiration, we want to know if other people feel the same way that we do. And oftentimes they don't give us that vibe back. And that vibe is because they can't return it. They don't see it. They haven't experienced it, so they don't know yet, right? The way I walk through life, I wanted to tell them, you guys are laughing at my stash spot. One guy was being sarcastic, man. Well, you guys certainly got a trip to heaven, da, 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 and made a joke out of it. And I'm just sitting there saying to myself in the back of my mind, you just don't know what God gives me, do you? You have no clue. I would make a joke too. But if you seen what God has given me, you would totally get it. You know what I'm saying? You would totally understand. I'm not, man, that stuff though. What's up, Pee Wee? That's my dog. All my dogs is in here, homie. I ain't even gonna lie, man. This is one of them things you like, man, all my dudes is up in here, man. I feel like I'm at the station. I feel like I'm at the house. I feel like you feel what I'm saying? One of them good vibes. So I appreciate you guys all tapping in, man. I love and respect all you guys, man, and I miss you dearly. So I just wanted to put that out there. But these guys, right? Cats like Pee Wee, different people on here show me. Nick got a construction company. You know what I'm saying? Pee Wee still doing this thing. You know what I'm saying? Got a show is pretty he gets freaky, but at the same time, this is making me want to do better. So when you think about the circle that you keep, man, the better they are, the better you're gonna be. Right? You guys have heard the term, the closest of the five closest, you're the average of the five closest people to you and their limitations. Right? So don't just say, "Oh, I'm close to the five closest people too," and their limitations. What's up, CJ? Yeah, man. Man, homie, we've been missing you too. And that's the thing, right? You take the limitations with you. You don't only absorb the attitude, you absorb what we can and can't do. And oftentimes I see people from the same city doing the same shit. I'm like, "Oh, y'all from the same." And I'm like, "Okay, so that you guys are just mimicking each other, right?" They talk about football. Football is a copycat league, and you take the limits with you. The thing about it is it's scary to do something without limits, right? Because you're like, nobody's ever done this before. I don't know if I can do this, right? You start second guessing yourself. Should I do this? I don't have a role model. When you do something that has never been done before, there's no model to follow. So it's hella scary. You're like, I'm the first and I could damn sure be the last, homie. You know what I'm saying? I could be the last one that does this and fall on my face in terrific embarrassment if there's such a thing, right? But no, I could also triumph. I could also win. I could also be the first and not the last because it's not about ego, homie. It's about leaving the door open. Because when you break through, and I show cats all the time, I'm like, homie, pen, chained up to three other cats with a peanut butter sandwich on the way to a Wasco, to being in the classroom trying to make the best leaders that there possibly can be. You tell me God ain't real? Come on, homie. I can, and that's why I'm like, man, you start a business, it don't matter. Get cracking. You know what I'm saying? There's no limits, man. I don't care if you like Master P or his grill. Pay attention to what he was trying to say. There's no limit. There's nothing that the only caps you put on is the one, and you notice you got to put it on top of your head. Yeah, let me go ahead and cap myself. I'm not capping myself. I don't know how much money I can make. How much money do I need to get this done? I'm not putting a limit. I want 14 million. You capping yourself. God might have he might have better intentions for you, right? So ask for what's best for you, right? Don't ask for a certain limit. Why? Because this dude has it? Because it looks sexy on him. That 14 million looks sexy on him or her. That's them. That's their plight. What do you need specifically for your life in order to make it better? And you got people watching and following you too, right? So the more limits you put on yourself, that's when they put on themselves, right? Why you think football players and basketball players, their kids actually go and follow their steps? Because dad, mom, whoever set the limit is the league, dog. Like, well, damn. You know, that's the limit. Yeah, the limit is the league, homie. Okay, then that's what we doing. At least I'm gonna get is on a sorry ass team. Okay, but you know what the limit is. And that's how you got to keep doing it. Pretty soon, I'm making it hard for my kids. PhD, dog. Damn, dad, man, not, homie. We ain't out here with the games. And you have to have that type of intention where I'm not forcing you to do anything. But what I am trying to do is get you to say, at least I'm not putting a cap on myself to say I can only do this. I'm only going to get this type of degree. I'm only going to get this type of job. Why? Because that's what everybody in my family did. And I ain't really seen nothing past that. And we're guilty of that a lot of times, right? But we can't see past what our family has done. I'm just, man, they did this, so I'm gonna just go ahead and fall in line. I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. I'm gonna just And that's not always the case. God made us unique individuals, not to follow all the time in dad's or mom's footsteps. Because oftentimes those are limits, beliefs, right? Sometimes they don't believe. Some of your most devout Christians are the worst believers in the world. That's why they need to go all the time. And I'm not shooting shots. Don't get me wrong. But I know our faith gets tested sometimes, and we got to go reinforce it by any means necessary. And if that works, homie, I'm saluting you. That's the thing about me now. I'm not telling people what to do and what not to do. I'm like, whatever works for you. Because I'll tell you what works for me. Like I said, they laughed at me today. I mean, literally laughed. Everybody was, but you know what that was? That was the ones who don't give anything. They're like, damn, you made it easy to give. And that's I got a conflict. You know what I'm saying? With people, he said, you continue to push ourselves to the limit. Yes, homie. Right? They talk about Roger Bannister. Everybody always talks about Roger Bannister, right? Breaking the mile. What happened? Once he broke the mile, they cracked his record. And they kept cracking records, right? And you think about it. Look at the quarterbacks right now. If we talking sports, they wasn't throwing no 300 and 400 out, 400 yards and passing. That was unheard of. It's every Sunday now. So the bar keeps getting pushed. And it's us. It's us as individuals, those leaders, those whatever we are, to push the limits. And more importantly, in ourselves. Right? When do we get when does it really matter how we get big? On that last pull-up where we're almost failing. When we're really pushing our limits. It's to the point of almost failing. That's when that's where the growth takes place. I know early when we knocking it down. Nah. It's in that last one where, damn, I don't even know if I can do this. My arm's about to fall off. And you push yourself because it all starts right here. It's mental. Right? Our body follows what our mind thinks. It's not the other way around. Right? We talk about affect and cognition in consumer behavior. Affect being more feeling based and cognition being more intuition. Right? And which one do we move for first? Right? That's good question. Because a lot of us move towards our feeling more. How do we feel about something? And then we think about it. Whereas cognition is more thinking about it and then actually doing. Right? Some people move like that. Where I'm more, man, if it feels good. I'm a gut person, right? My intuition talks to me a lot. That's my direct line to God. Just in case people didn't know what their direct line to God was. It's your intuition. It's that gut inside you, right? When it gravitates, it sends angels too. Don't get me wrong. He sends them, right? But he also, when you're about to deliver messages that have real impact, the enemy knows too. He's standing around ear hustling. So the people that he consistently uses, right? The people that he constantly uses, which are random people, especially ones that are in the past, right? He constantly uses those people to keep our limits, right? Because then sometimes we're reminded of our former selves. I tell people all the time, homie, if you think you knew me, man, you better stay updated with me every day because I'm constantly changing. I'm always adding new information and my limits constantly being pushed. Once I accomplish this PhD, I'm on to something else. I'm like, okay, so how many books can I write? You know what I'm saying? Okay, so can I get a all right, so what else? And just like, you know what I'm saying? Because you realize that in a sense that God has blessed us with so much potential and power, we don't know what the F to do with it. We have no idea really how to utilize what the gifts that God has given us. We have the we can orate, we can talk, we can think, we're computers. We have all these features, but we have no idea. We put limits on ourselves, right? Because it's easy. If we put limits on ourselves, guess what that means? We don't have to do shit. You feel what I'm saying? It means we don't have to do anything. We can just sit there on our limits, man. Ain't nobody in my neighborhood ever did whoop de. Like one thing that gets me when I talk to cats in LA, and they be like, "Man, I don't even go to the beach." I'm like, "Man, you talking about limits? And you might as well move to Des Moines." You know what I'm saying? I mean, what's the difference if you're gonna limit yourself in that sense, right? We think about what we have around us, man. We got a abundance of museums, and people don't know. There's kids and cats in my class never been to a museum. How is that possible? Then you start to think about it because you're limited because the people who are around you were limited. So you got to go out there sometimes and be the sacrificial lamb of exposure. I don't know shit about art, but I'm going to the Getty. Why? Because my kids may ask me something about art, and I want to at least say, I don't know who Van Gogh is or what in the hell he does or what a Basquiat painting looks like, but I can tell you where to go find one. So we got to be more leak about not, it's just not about me, homie. It's about being a resource to other people, period. Right. And within that intention of being a resource to other people, our limits are expanded because we have to know more. The one thing about being a teacher is you have to know the subject. You can't teach if you don't know the subject. So I have to not only learn from a student, I've already taken consumer behavior, but I've taught it now for 4 years. And the more I teach it, the more I learn about it. And it starts to become second nature. And some of the terms and the theories are starting to become more and more common. Right. But I had to put myself out there to say, dude, you got to step out there and perhaps embarrass yourself your first semester where you may not know as much and students may call you out on shit. Okay, so what? I'm pushing my limits. I'm not going to be an expert at something I've never done before, but I'm pushing my limits. Give me a few cracks at this, homie. Give me a little time with this. Let me learn the rules. Let me see what I need to know. Right. But certain times when you get out there, you got to go ahead and push yourself because you have no idea what your potential is. You've only known what your limits are based on what your past. Oh man, I only could do 10 reps before. Well, try 12, right? You may get 11, but you better than that 10 that you had, right? So you got to constantly be pushing. What's my limit? Okay. Who's my competition? Doesn't exist, but my limit does. So I'm going to push myself, right? What can I do more? Sometimes you need to be more reserved, right? Where I go out of control. This is my normal limit. Okay. Well, let me pull it back a little bit. Let me try a different approach to things, right? But for the most part, you're pushing your limit. If I walk this mile, let me walk a mile and a half. That's it, and it doesn't take much. It doesn't have to be an extreme limit. Doesn't. But push yourself to get better each and every time. Man, I was just talking to my relative Kevin, personal training down in Paris. Shout out to him. Follow Still Fit. You guys can find him on Instagram. Man, he will have your legs and your glutes looking like money. So follow my dude, Still Fit, if you guys can find him. That's my relative. But I was talking to him about that, and we were talking about it. Now it's like 1% every day. That's it. 1%. That's all we got to do is 1%. And he know what that mean. 1% every day. 1%. Just get a little bit better every time. Just push that limit. Eventually, you're gonna say, "Well, damn, man, I didn't even know I went from this to that." Yeah, man, I just inched it on. I just nudged it every so often, right? I pushed myself a little bit, right? I got to do this GMAT thing again, right? So I'm pushing myself. I'm all in doing all kind of different kind of math now. Excuse me. right? But pushing myself. I'm not accepting the status quo. Status quo does not exist for me. I'm making the status quo a thing of the past every single day, even if I am the status quo. I'm different tomorrow. I added some more features, right? I updated me, right? We're computers, right? We're the best. These computers have nothing on us, but we got to stay updated, right? If we don't get our updates, man, we start performing, like the old Dales or whatever the case may be, right? So we got to constantly be pushing ourselves. So what limits do you have for yourself? Right? I'm not going to try for that job. Why? Because I don't have the qualifications. Well, let me tell you something about qualifications. 90% of them are BS, right? You go into that job, you like, man, I thought everybody in here was had a master's degree because that's what y'all told me on the application. You find out nobody has a master's degree, including your boss. You're like, what the? Because we put limitations on ourselves. We accept it, we give ourselves the no before somebody else does. Isn't that a trip? Before somebody even tells us no, we tell ourselves, nah, man, I can't do that. How many times we done talked ourselves out of approaching a female? Oh man, she out of my league. Then you see this cracker, right? You like, man, you put limits on yourself, right? Ideas. You talking about ideas, business ideas. Man, I remember I had the idea for the mobile gas truck. Then I see Yoshi driving around. I'm like, snooze, you lose, homie. You know what I'm saying? They didn't see a limit on it. You was like, man, I don't know if I can do it or not. You start to second guessing yourself. And that's what we do when we have limits. We start to second guess ourselves, even though our intuition and that connection with God is telling us, homie, make that move. Move on. Get that. Go ahead and take care of that. Move that forward. Take the risk. Because in life, what else is there? That's the part I don't understand. People are preserving like you got so many times to roll the dice on life. And everybody sitting there holding their bets. They like, man, you know what? I'm gonna just hold these dice. For how long? Oh well, shit. If I hold them, I won't crap out. Yeah, but you also won't make shit. You're gonna have to throw them damn things at some point in time, dog. You're gonna have to get it out there and see what the universe has planned for you. If you crap out, you'll get another chance at the dice. But if you hit, you don't need to play in the dice game no more. You can bounce from that point, right? But you got to try something. You got to push yourself and try something. If you want something out of life, I know for me personally, that's how I feel about it. If I really want something, man, I'm about to try something, whatever it is. I'm about to try and see if I fail. Okay, if I get it, man, that's a notch in my belt of confidence. If I lose, it's a notch in my belt of experience. But there is no losses in life. No such thing. Period. It's all perception. So are limits. There are perceived limits, right? You talk about the limits of a elephant, right? They talk about how they had the elephant, the carnival master, whatever he is, ties the elephant from an infant to this log or whatever it is in the ground, a little stake in the ground. Elephant grows, grows, grows. The limit, the rope's still there. Even though got the power to kick that thing up and kick the shit out of the circus guy, won't do it. It's been trained on limits. Black people, oh man, we don't swim. Man, I tell you what, homie, I do. Oh, we don't do this, we don't do that. Them is your punk ass limits, homie. Those aren't mine, and I don't appreciate you trying to give them to me. We need to we ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? I do individual stuff because I know we as individuals, yeah, I'm black, but we all don't do the same thing. Period. Right? What they call it, monolithic, or we're not monolith, or whatever they call it. That's not us. So quit putting limits on yourself, right? I remember people say, "You surf, man? It's what?" If I felt like skiing too, the homie snowboard, Pee Wee on here snowboard. They catch him too. Follow him back, Big Pee Wee. You see, define the odds. There's no limits. My dude be on mountains. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, and I'm in the water. It doesn't. There's no limits. So quit talking to people who have them because they're contagious as colds. Would you sit there and talk to somebody who had a cold and COVID? Just think about COVID of the mind, right? This is a sickness that limitations are mind sickness, right? So you're gonna sit there and continue to talk to somebody who has a contagious ass mind disease? Word? right? You know what I'm saying? Trying to get close to, man, let me get my mind all close to your mind. Trying to rub heads with you, right? That's just like somebody sneezing and here, let me, nah, I don't want your shit. I'm sorry, homie. I'm good. That doesn't really work well for my immune system, homie. It just doesn't. So we have to, as individuals, be willing to say, "Let me go ahead and part ways with you. I'm not going to do the iron sharpening because you coming with the copper and you come. This ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? Because your mentality is it. You don't. It's limited. So I can't. The stuff that I tell you, you can't process it. So if I say like, man, let's go down to Manhattan Beach and check these pads out, or let's go to like I'm one of them kind of cats that I'll be like, man, let's go to an open house and look at stuff and really walk through it. I did that in Manhattan Beach. I really did that. And went and walked through. They had little sandwiches, man, and I think I was like a negative $200 in my account, and I'm in there chilling like I'm about to grab this shit, right? But you have to psych yourself out. The world is telling you, man, there's no way in hell you can afford it. They ain't just telling you, man, you can't afford this house. There's no way in hell you can afford this house. That's what the world's telling you when you leave, when you walk out your door. There's no way in hell you can do this. Yes, there is. There's no way in hell I can because I'm not dealing with hell, but I can do it through God. I can do it through God. There's no limits. He created all this stuff. So I can execute it through God. Now, no way in hell you can't do it because I'm not going through him. Now, some people are. I get that. You know what I'm saying? Some people are going through that cat in order to get what they need to get. I particularly am choosing not to. Right. So when somebody tells you based on their calculation, I remember be realistic, right? Watch the Tavis Smiley and Will Smith episode on talking about being realistic. And it'll change your whole perception of what the hell realistic is. Because realistic at different times throughout our existence has been, I tell you what, talk to a caveman about an electric car. And he'd be like, man, be realistic. And he's probably right because in his world, limitate they was barely figuring out how to make wheels out of stone and how to make fire. So yeah, the timing might not have been right, but somebody during that time could have had to. Hey man, you know what? There's gonna be a time where we ain't gonna need fire. Like the universe is gonna provide everything that we need. And sure enough, we're during that time now. So why would you put a limit, man? We're flying in airplanes. This is the best freaking time to be alive, homie. It is not better. It gets no better than this. So in terms of limits, man, we can create channels with YouTube. We can create networks, get the homies together and 5 channels. Now we got the homie network and and we could sell it. Who the hell is Drewski? Right? And then the dude is on Google. I'm like, who is this dude? But he started off where he was in Atlanta. He or wherever he was, he had access to certain people. Think about him. Who's the other dude? I can't. The academics, like the video quality. That's why I quit tripping on my video quality. I looked at academics video quality. Like this dude is making hand over fist money, and his video quality is horrendous. But who cares, right? We're at a time where there's no freaking limits. If you haven't started the YouTube channel, you better get cracking. This is the future, and you need to get on a podcast. I was talking about podcasts 10, 15 years ago. Like, homie, we got to get on these podcasts. Everybody, man, whatever. I'm like, man. You know what I'm saying? And now you think about this. We've been doing this thing for over 5 years. So 5 years in the game, 100 episodes plus. This is called putting your no limits. I don't know where this is going to take us, but I'm putting my best foot forward. I have no idea. And you hear so many stories tell you, man, we had no intentions on making money and it turned us into $1 billion whatever. And that's because your intent is right? So when I come and give, I'm not looking to give for a $5 donation from you guys. I'm not interested in a $5 donation. I'm good right now. What I just want you to do is understand who's giving this to you and give praise to that cat. My ego is in check, homie. I've done enough. Trust me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not looking for that. But what I am looking for is more opportunities to give, more opportunities to let people know, man, how God can change your life if you tap the F in. He will. I promise you. There's nobody else that comes closer. There's no reason to talk to anybody else about miracles. They don't get it. Their capacity is limited. So if you're talking to somebody about miracles, the one you want to talk to is the one who's in the miracle business, not somebody who sells tires or Subway sandwiches. And I'm not hating on a tire salesman or Subway sandwich, but you don't talk to them about miracles. You talk to them about pastrami and and tire rotation, right? And tread, but you don't talk to them about miracles. You talk to God about miracles. Period. That's it, homie. There's nothing else. And if you want to put limitations on yourself, you talk to limited people. You want to remove the cap and see what God really has for you in store for you, then you ask him. You talk to him. Nothing is out of reach. Nothing is out of existence. Nothing is too big for him. There are people you could talk to and they'll smirk at you and they'll be like, homie, yeah, look, like they did me today. Oh, you think you're a goody two shoes? No, homie, I'm just telling you guys a secret in order for you to give more so you don't block your blessings. And when I was telling them about Kendrick Lamar, man, in the last verse, the dude says, I am God, man. You just cost yourself a spot in heaven for a freaking dollar. And then they finally got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, yeah, man. Don't limit yourself and quit doing that, right? You limiting yourself when you think this dollar is going to make or break you, or that you need to be the principal and determine where they spend the money. You said you were hungry. You need to buy a cheeseburger. That's not your business, homie. None of your spiritual business, as Les Brown says. That's between him and God or her and God. What's between you and God was your intent and what you planned on doing, right? So my intent is always the same. It's pure. It's difficult. And I'm not going to lie. It's difficult not to try to attach ourselves to results. That's very difficult. And even in that example with the panhandlers, you're attaching yourself to the results. We attach ourselves to our results. So therefore, we put our limits. Oh man, the last time I did this, I only was able to do X, Y, Z. So that was the last time. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what's going to happen this time. But it's difficult to adopt an attitude like that. It takes a lot of practice and discipline in order to see things like that. So we have to constantly practice small increments of pushing our limits because we don't want to get to the point to where we're disappointed in ourselves if we don't reach these certain, limits or benchmarks. So you want to do it slowly and gradually, man. Let me inch this up. Okay, let me increase that. When I started off doing pull-ups, man, I didn't do 10 to 15. It was 1 to 2. Then okay, let me see if I can bust 3. All right, let me see if I can bust 4. And let me see if I can bust 5. And the next you know, you jump from 5 to 8. Like, damn, I went to 8. Yes, small incremental things and push your limits. I promise you, because your limits, whatever they are just as contagious. So if you're constantly pushing yours and you're constantly stretching yourself, guess who else is watching? Your homeboys, people, your neighbors, your kids, your spouses. They all watching. Somebody do something different. Damn it, please. That will conclude a weekly tap in for this week, man. I truly hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, let me show you guys what I'm listening to. I'm revisiting, I always got to show y'all my Audible. I am revisiting a good book. And I'll show you. It is low key excellent, man. It's really working for me. Where are you? All right, let me see. Share that screen. Oh yeah, no doubt, Veronica. I appreciate you guys tapping in, man. This is what we do every Monday. We ain't playing, right? Let me share this with you guys. Show you the screen. My daughter's little llama. But I'm back on. Where are you, dude? This my 3-in-1. The Magic of Manifesting. I can't stress enough how good that book is, homie. I mean, it's one of the ones you could listen to over and over again. And even if you have relationship issues, like the last book talks about love, but the first one is talking about more or less just identity and just really understanding intent in the universe. And then the second one is how to attract money. And what it talks about is chasing things and how to not do that and how to really focus on giving, right? And unfiltered, unattached giving, right? And it doesn't, and we thinking because we need to have these large platforms in order to give. No, compliments are free and everybody loves them. So start there. All right, man. I'll see you guys next week. I totally appreciate you guys tapping in. If you haven't subscribed, please do so as soon as you can. Leave us a review on either um, iTunes if you're able to, or wherever you get your streaming platform. Reviews are very, very difficult to get. I mean, very, especially somebody writing. So if you guys have done so, man, I am so gracious to you. You have no idea. You have no clue. And I know there's a few of you guys that are listening that have left us reviews. So I can't stress enough my gratitude for it. I will see you guys next week. I'm tapping out.